What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Kickin with Kachi, where we highlight individuals that are really taking their industry by storm. And today, we have an amazing individual. Today, we have Bridget Kent, a former prototype technician at Burton, who is now the founder and owner of an amazing nonprofit here in Vermont called Blind Betty, where she's increasing stories and coverage and awareness about disabled athletes, as well as creating opportunities that get some access to initiatives, as well as adaptive sports gear. And honestly, she might have some more information for you all later, but you guys got to watch to get that special sauce. Bridget, thank you for coming in and kicking with me today. I appreciate you for taking some time out and sharing about your story.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is awesome. I'm really excited to share the story on other platforms and just try to spread the word, because what we're doing is so much bigger than just one person. It's community and accessibility. So thank you.
And before we get into it, I wanted to make sure that I'm speaking adequately. Is disabled the correct term? Is there a better term that I should be using? I don't want to offend anybody. I want to make sure that I'm using the right lexicon.
No, disabled is perfectly fine. As just as a blanket, being disabled comes as a spectrum, right? So where I once was considered visually impaired, and that blindness is now into the legally blind. And so doesn't mean I'm blackout blind. It means that I still have parts in my vision that I can see. It just got to the point where I can no longer drive safely on the road, and other things get a little harder. In particularly, what we'll talk about is stuff like sports. A lot of my life had to be relearned, so starting over again.
Right. And like Bridget said, right, at 24, you were diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa, right, which is
Right.
a rare genetic condition that provides, as you just said, a degenerative loss of vision, and where, eventually, there may be a situation where you're blind. And all too well, right, in the sense of with other athletes and getting into the type of sports that you would like to do, like snowboarding, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very dependent on your vision.
Yeah.
So all too well the challenges that come with being disabled and to be an athlete. So what was the moment? Was there a moment or a time that made you want to bring this experience together and then create a nonprofit, Blind Betty, to also help others?
Yeah, well, I think a big pivotal point was when I lost my job due to my sight. Unfortunately, I wish it could have been done a little bit better. But when you say that you've lost your sight, it does scare a lot of people, and especially in an industry that I was working. I was a prototype engineer. I worked with CNC machinery and power tools and bandsaws. So things that were high risk, right? I had been doing it for 13 years. I just was trying to be very open about what I needed for help and magnifiers and lights as far to keep working safely. So once the loss of the career, once it ended, I had a summer to kind of reflect. And personally, it was like anger and frustration and sadness. I mean, we go through every stage of grief, right? When this happened, because my life was fully shifting. I was scared. I'm a single parent. I have an 11-year-old daughter. So I live in the woods. Transportation was hard. And so I was doing my best to keep my household running and keep my daughter active and try to not skip a beat, because I didn't want this to affect my kiddo, and so I'm trying to keep things going as usual, even though it just wasn't normal anymore, right? And so I let the kind of dust settle a little bit and try to get into this, okay, this has happened not to me but for me, so how am I going to flip this script, right? How am I going to make things better? I'm a problem solver, right? And so okay, I don't have public transit out here in the middle of the woods, so how am I getting back and forth? Okay, we got to schedule rides. Who's available? Okay, how do I go back and forth to the mountain? And how do I continue? We just went rock climbing yesterday. How do we do that, right? And a lot of it's pretty humbling because I'm a beginner again. But what I started to see as consistencies was these gaps, so I'd get a lot of information and say, oh, you should, ski and ride Vermont is awesome, and you should join this program over here with mountain biking. And I'm like, yes, awesome, adaptive sports is wonderful.
Right.
And then there was this like in between of going, how do I get there? Like,
It's not all that accessible for the accessible event, right?
right. I'm like, so specifically, let's talk snowboarding for a moment. Here's something I have done since I was 10 years old. I'm 44, right? Like, so like over 30 years snowboarding. And so the ability to ride, I mean, it's muscle memory, right? Like I have a board on my feet. I can feel the changes and everything else. Yeah, but like I need somebody to ride with me now, just to be like, hey, come back to the right, come back to the left. You got some ice coming up, or hey, it's going to drop down. You need to keep your speed to go, across this flat section, right? It's like, so there's little things, little clues and cues to keep you on trail. And we're like, my daughter's been amazing because she's like yell at me, but there's a lot of chatter. There's wind. You've got your helmet on. Your head is covered, and so you need to have a radio system. And so it's like, I'm gonna say my parents have been helping me out the most, getting me to and from, but they're not snowboarders. They support me, but to have them come up to the mountain, they're not strapping on equipment and like going riding with me. And the last thing I want to do is just ask them to hang out in the lodge for a couple hours while I go do my thing. And so it started to become easier for me to go, hey, if you're going to go grocery shopping, can you drop me off at the gym? And I'll go powerlift for a while, And so that's been my go-to to try to keep my community, where getting to the mountain it's so much harder. And just the logistics of it. So I do have one family member who's like, let's go, and she comes, picks me up, but she does exactly that. She's like, rides right in front of me, wears contrasting clothes so I can make her out on the trail, and I just follow her line as we're going down right now. So, but that getting to the mountain has been what really started getting my gears turning. I'm like, how do we make this better? How do we make that accessibility, a lot easier to get to? Because, man, I feel like a burden. I hate asking for help, and I'm so grateful for everybody that's willing, but there's a part of me that still is like, if I could give back like even a $10 gift card or something for gas, that just makes it so much better, so that's really what
figuring out,
fueled it.
No, but I like that in the sense of like, I think when we get into like especially like sports or everything, like we think of all these things of like safety and like protection and gear, but same way, right? Like the considerations for disabled folks aren't exactly there. As much as like when we go there, maybe there's some accessibility things, but like you said, how am I getting there, right? If I can't see and you're trying to make it better for me to see on the mountain, I definitely can't see to drive myself there. So being able to, solve problems and be able to adapt. And also I think a self-sufficiency thing there too, and not feel so much like you're just being shuffled around and being a burden. And I think like aside from snowboarding, right, you maintain a very active lifestyle with like the Black Barn Collective. We do a lot of motorbike detailing and a lot of getting outside and, getting really just out and about. You just said mountain climbing yesterday. So I'm trying to think back when you were diagnosed, right? At 24 years old, Bridget probably like thought her world was just gonna be like probably a lot of people think being blind is just blackout blind, right? I don't know how educated 24-year-old Bridget was on retinitis pigmentosa, but the looking forward now you are at 44. Do you think 24-year-old you thought that you'd still be doing all the same things that you love, albeit with some some changes, but still out there and doing the thing?
Right. Yeah. No, great question, because I was definitely at 24. I was out to prove myself and to everybody. Like I can at that time too, as soon as I was diagnosed, it was like, all right, I'm Spartan racing. I'm going to climb Killington 6 times, and I'm going to go climb ladders and jump over walls. And I did, and like, here we are doing this 8-hour race, in every type of Vermont weather you could get thrown at you, and I've got the brightest headlamp hiking these ladies off the mountain, it's like, I'm going to do this. And I knew I set myself up at 24. Like, I knew that there's things I needed to do in order to kind of like prepare myself. Um, but I didn't know how quickly, because the diagnosis was like, oh, maybe tomorrow. Oh, maybe
Right,
in six
right,
months, maybe in,
right,
you know, 20 years. Right. And it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to keep adapting and I'm going to keep moving and functioning, and always kind of in my head finding a way to make these things a little bit easier for myself, or like and having the right gear and making the right circles and connections. And so just honestly, as an athlete, it's like making sure that your health is your number one priority, right? Like I've always been active, so I'm always going to stay active. I'm going to stretch, I'm going to weight lift, I'm going to eat healthy. um, because if I can't control those symptoms, right, and what's happening, the degenerative part of RP, I'm going to try to keep all the inflammation out that I possibly can. And so um, that's been a big part, and now with the diagnosis and where I'm at, I'm starting to find equipment that fits my lifestyle a bit better. And something that I can do with my kiddo, like a tandem bike now, right? Like before, I can still mountain bike, and I have like somebody out in front of me and telling me where the trail is and stuff. And again, radio systems. But just to enjoy the ride a little bit more with my kiddo, okay, we can't do a typical tandem bike because she's a lot smaller than me and I'm the muscle. So she needs to be out in front. So then we're like, okay, what if she asks for a recumbent bike? And so she can
mm,
sit closer to the front wheel and I can sit, in the backside. Well, okay, that's awesome. We found a bike. It's actually a full suspension, which is what we need out here on the back dirt roads, right? Because it's all ruts and potholes,
right,
and so it's not a paved bike path. Okay, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, but you need a trailer to move this bike to bring it to like
right,
a bike path.
right.
So then I found one that actually has a pin and you pull it in the middle and the bike actually folds up so
Nice.
you can stuff, I'm like, okay, this is great. It's $10,000.
Oh,
So I'm like,
oof.
this is this is
It's
adaptive
like, this is
equipment.
great. And then capitalism rears its ugly head and is like, ha 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 ha. Ha. You think it's so
Yeah.
great now.
Right. Another kind of falling into this, like the snowboarding. Oh my gosh, Ski and Ride Vermont in the adaptive sports industry. It's amazing. And they do these wonderful weekends where they get people out there and have like the hotel booked and, you can go and ride. And what I was finding is like, that's cool too. But I also have two dogs at home.
Right.
So I have to make sure that it's like a day trip and I can get out and back to take care of my animals. Um, and these two are not guide dogs. I actually have a guide dog coming, but it was just one of those situations where I'm like, okay, I could pay $300, which seems completely reasonable for a couple lift tickets, your overnight stay. But again, it's that transportation back and forth that started to really get in the way for a lot of this. And that's why I bring up the biking too. It's the same kind of concept. Like we can go meet up and do these bike rides, but you still need to get from the house,
Accessibility.
yeah.
Right. Right.
So,
And I would say, right, what's been the biggest adjustment, right? And you said a lot of it as well. But biggest adjustment, I guess, in your day to day, right? Like you said a lot about how you said some funny things on your Instagram or your podcast about the story about when you were doing makeup and you went outside and you got the lip liner instead of the
yeah.
eyebrows. So is it a lot of that, a kind of like you said, kind of remembering like to not put the shoes in the walkway
Oh
because
yeah.
you might be able to see or little things like that, or you just kind of
Hmm.
always having to have like and I call it my ADHD list because I have it. I just remember you have to eat, you have to do this, you have to do this. So it's a lot
Right.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of that kind of stuff. And those are the things, the tools that I started doing since 24 was like, okay, every time you come in, the shoes are going to go right here. And then, the kitchen's always going to be set up the same way so that I know exactly where things are. Um, and because little things happen randomly, oh, just the other day they were coming in to film at the house and you know, blind Betty moment. I decide, oh, I should probably dust off my wine glasses They, I caught it out of the very corner of my eye, like, oh, let's go clean those. I ended up knocking down all my wine glasses onto my concrete countertop.
Well, I guess there's no dust
Lost,
on them anymore.
like, right? I like broke half of them. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's glass broken on top of my black countertop. And why did I decide I needed to clean that for filming? And then it was like this scramble. I'm like, now I have to like broken glass feel around, like, where
Like
is it,
Velma, where's my glasses, sort of thing.
like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, of course, I have to laugh it off. It's got to be humorous, because it's like, who else would do this, like you said, painting your eyebrows with like a lip liner. I cooked a pizza fully upside down in my oven because the cheese and the crust looked the same color to me, and
Oh,
you know
wow.
like,
Well, I mean, it's great, right? It gives you an opportunity to give yourself grace, right? Not take yourself as
yeah.
seriously. I think it embraces the messiness of life a little bit more.
Oh,
So that's great that you get to
absolutely.
laugh. And how was parenthood? I guess because I don't know if you were a parent at
Yep.
24, but
No.
in
Yeah.
dealing with it, like how was parenthood came into? I'm pretty sure your little one must have enjoyed not being seen many times.
Oh, she takes advantage of it now. It's a game, like hiding in clear sight, right? But
Right,
not for
right.
mom. Her favorite thing is blind taste test.
Oh,
Here,
that's
mom,
fine. That's fine.
open up. Like, what are we eating today? you know.
No, and I
All
love that. I
right.
love kids because kids are very much like when like with stuff like that, it's not they don't infantilize you, right? It's not like a
Yeah.
thing that's wrong with you. Like it's something generally curious, right? Like that's just a part of you. And I
Oh
love
yeah.
that innocence about kids and hopefully, kind of get that joy from them too and get to like
Absolutely.
maybe have some fun with your I don't call it disability, kind of like your superpower in that sense.
Oh yeah, because I can do anything with my eyes closed.
Right. Exactly.
It is a superpower.
Yeah.
Um, but she can't get away with much when it comes to my hearing because my goodness, it's like supersonic, and I'm always like, "What you doing?
Right.
Hold on a second." Um, there's a fine line though because as parenting, this happened, and when you have something like a vision impairment, and like I said, I went through this transition through the summer, being angry and sad and going through all that. I was like, okay, I could sit back and I could be safe in my home, right? And then I'm going through mobility training, and you're what stoplights aren't chirping the way they're supposed to, or they're not, the buttons when you touch them are supposed to vibrate to give you a tactile, hey, you can cross, and they're broken, and I'm like,
Right,
you know
right,
what, I'm like, I can partially see what if someone fully blind, and now I'm starting to
right,
get the rage of like, I need to be an advocate for this. Um, and so then you put yourself out there. But when it comes to parenting, it's like, my daughter is amazing because she just is all this empathy. And when we do stuff, she understands, like, at first she was a little embarrassed to call out when the chairlift came, but then because I had said to the lifty, I was like, hey, I'm I'm actually blind. Could you please tell me when the chairlift comes? And he's like, oh yeah, ha ha ha. And he let
right,
the
right,
chairlift just take me right out. And I like got hit by it, and I fell back into it. And my daughter looked at it, was like, oh, okay. The next run, she's
right.
like, Mom, the lift is coming in 3, 2, 1. She's like yelling at me. I'm like, great, that was
Oh,
awesome. Like, thank you, and like when we cross country ski, she's like, Mom, we're gonna go down, it's gonna get fast. There's a boulder on your right, I'm like, okay, great, so I'm skiing to the left. And she's just like open doors and like letting me know where the edge of the curb is. And she likes to play with it because she calls me extreme mobility. She's like, keep it on your toes. Hold hands and run as fast as you can. And we're like, oh, here we
right,
go. So she keeps the playfulness in it, and I want to make sure that she knows that when she gets older, to spread her wings and leave the home, like, mom's okay, like, you don't have to be here to help me and support me, like, as a dependent. Like, I depend on you. I'm like, I'm trying to really raise her to know that I am good, and she is ready to go when she's ready to go, and she, and we can separate real easily, because there can be a dependency growing up together and helping each other out, where
Yeah.
I know that even as like my brother's a lot younger than I am, and I felt that as a teenager when I was ready to move cross country, and I was like, oh, but I have this little kid, I need to help him and
Right.
help mom.
Right.
And luckily my mom too was like, no, you need to go adventure, go like get across country, go to Oregon. I'm like, okay, thanks.
Right.
Like, so I want to make sure that she has that same drive, and when she's ready to go, she knows like I'm all good. So um I definitely make sure of that in day-to-day life.
And it's more beautiful to reel that back, right? Than kind of force them to come to stay home. So
Right.
it's good that they love staying home, and you kind of have to say, no, go spread your wings, as opposed to the opposite, where you're like, no, fly back. So
Right.
in starting this nonprofit, has there, and you said a lot of highlights as well, but has there any been highlights or things that come about that made you motivated to stick with the work, right? Because when we are becoming aware of problems in society that
Yeah.
probably before we took for granted, like the tactile feedback on the crosswalk sign, or not even being able to have accessibility to these things that are supposed to be free events, supposed to be for everybody, right? Realizing that there are still gaps, and then getting mad, and then getting emboldened by the work. Were there some things that kind of keep you motivated in the time that you've developed Blind Betty, and have a podcast now, that kind of come out that really stick with you?
Yeah, I think what's really motivating me to keep this work going is honestly when I interview people and we have these conversations, it doesn't matter if you're disabled or not. We all have blind spots, right?
Right.
And when we hit that low, that dark night of the soul, right? That messy point when we're just like, oh shit, like I have never been here before. I don't know what to do. I don't know what the next step is, and you're feeling just alone. There's a community out there, right? And to reach out. And that's really what started the whole like, I need to have conversations. For one, if I could just connect with one person and let them know they're not alone, then I've done my job, right? Or if I can bring up a situation where, you know, recently I got an email and was like, is it okay if I share your contact? I have somebody who is just now learning to use a white cane. I'm like, oh,
Mm.
yes, please, please, because I walked around with a white cane in my bag for over a
Oh.
year because I was so embarrassed. It's got a name. It's called cane shame, because as soon as you pull that cane out, you're announcing to the whole world, I can't
Right.
see.
Right.
And I'm telling you, yes, it can clear sidewalks for you, and you're
Right.
in a
Yeah.
crowd and gets everyone out of the way. Well, guess what? It also disperses conversation. People don't want to come up and talk to you anymore because they're a little too afraid, like, oh, don't interfere. And meanwhile, I'm like, no,
Right.
no, no, no. Come talk to me. So the podcast has really opened that up in more ways than just being disabled. So like that's what keeps me going forward. That you know, helping out and raising money and awareness, we're just growing a bigger and bigger community of connection. So I guess that's really where the heart of this comes from, because there's these little pockets that can make things better, right?
Right.
Even even when I left my job and reflecting back, I'm like, why was that so hard? And I'm like, because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was literally showing the door and said, "Here, we're gonna give you a week to go figure it out." I'm like, how?
Yeah.
How? you know? And then I'm like, okay, so if we want to build an inclusive community, and you realize someone's struggling and they're gonna have to go on disability, there needs to be like somebody in that workplace to say,
Right.
no, you still come into work, and I'm going to sit here with you and we're going to go through this step by step, because
Right.
now you're sending somebody home. It's amazing how much more I do with my eyes and the computer now than I ever have as a builder and an engineer, which has all been
Right. Right.
tactile. you know it's like, if I just had a little more support on that exit instead of just being like, see ya.
Right. Right.
I think, and that's the change I want to make. And it's not like, oh, get
And I
mad
mean, it
at the
was small
company.
things, right? It was like magnifying glasses and maybe like a phone camera instead of like using your eyes, like things
Completely.
that are, accessibility adjustments in the workplace, right? But
Yeah.
those gaps where it's like, okay, we already have everything that we needed to do to make this place as accessible as possible. We don't want like adding any more implementation sounds like hard work.
Right.
But like you said, like these things that are quite simple, like a radio, right? A microphone that just gets feedback from someone else in a helmet leagues, right,
Right.
better than just going down the mountain blindly, right? Or even like a
Completely.
lift hand, just being trained on being like, why don't we just announce to everyone when the lift is coming so that
Oh,
everyone
right.
knows? Like
Yeah.
little simple policies like that can kind of help out and do things for people. So I'm
Right.
appreciative of the fact of your platform, because for me as well, like I mean, I have terrible eyesight. I'm not legally blind, but I have terrible eyesight as well as
Hmm.
like other things. And then also like athletes, like trying to make it accessible to everyone, because you want
Oh, yeah.
people of different types of people to be in sports, but also to continue doing sports, because you don't want them to feel as if there's a body type that can only do sports. So I
Right.
love the podcast. I love being able to see what's going on, and I also love the fact that it brought to attention to me something that I wasn't aware of, right? The idea of blindness as a spectrum, but also not as a deterrent to self-reliance and thriving.
Right.
And now, right, like you have amazing initiative going on
Yeah.
with Blind Betty. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, something that I've decided to do is within my 13 years working in the Craig's prototype facility for Burton, I was able to build some really rare, fun boards. A lot to do with like the Mine 77 collection, which was Jake Burton's personal
Oh
collection,
wow.
right? So, we did a lot of collabs where there was the Beastie Boys, Run DMC, Tupac, some really cool stuff. Including the one that we have up for auction right now, which is the Celtics. It's the parquet
Nice.
court. And so this is the first board that was ever built with a clear top sheet, that
Wow.
shows off the whole wood core. So the wood
Do you
core
have the
room.
board? I have to see the board. Do you have the
Oh yeah,
board?
we'll give you a photo
Okay.
to put up the.
Okay. Good. Good.
Our
Good.
production guys have the board right now, so they've been doing their glamour shots with it.
Good.
Um,
Good.
yeah, and so it's absolutely beautiful. And when it all came, this idea was pitched, I was in my core room and I took a bunch of scrap wood because they were like, "Oh, the parquet court." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I've sat courtside before. We used to raffle off tickets at Burton and could go down and like watch the game." And so I had the luxury of sitting courtside and seeing it firsthand,
Wonderful. Wow.
Um, but I took the wood core and I built a parquet block. And when our creative team came to do a discussion, it was brought to the table and they were like, "We can stand on the court." I'm like, "Yeah, we can totally
Yes.
do this." And it was really cool too because the sidewall of a snowboard, we did this two part. So again, you're standing on the sidewall and it's in the middle of the board and it's just like absolutely beautiful. Um, and we
And
were
camber bindings, right? So it can be adjusted to any type of bindings, right? Like it
correct.
has the
Yep.
channel binding. Yep. Any
Yep.
bindings can be
Absolutely.
fitted
They're
to it.
all
I'm a snowboarder
rideable.
myself. Yeah.
Yep.
If you have any
Yep.
extra snowboards, please give it to me. But it
Okay.
is a
Okay.
gorgeous board. I did see some videos. It's a
Oh,
gorgeous,
good.
gorgeous board. I'm a Knicks fan, so unfortunately,
Okay.
I don't want the Celtics one. But I would love that board is gorgeous. Absolutely
Yep.
gorgeous board.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, our team worked really hard on that one. And, it was that hands down was probably my absolute favorite one to build. Like, but again, I'm partial to the wood core. The core room was my jam. So, um, yeah. So it was really hard. Like, in a moment, I was like, God, these someday maybe I'll hang them on my walls, and like my studio, and I'll have them all put up. And then the more I started thinking about it, I'm like, you're you're losing your sight, Bridge. Like right now, they're tucked away in a closet, right? For no, I'm like, this is a pivotal time in my life where I'm like, everything is changing, and you could sit here and hold on to him just to look at him, but when they went on auction originally, they were sold thousands and thousands of dollars per board.
Right.
Okay. Like collector's items and for good reason, right? And they all went to the Chill Foundation, which was amazing.
Right. Right.
But I'm talking accessibility.
Right.
I want to make this accessible for everyone. So the tickets are only $25 a piece. 100 for 5. That is so reasonable for anybody to get their hands on this board, right? So anybody can win. And that really speaks to me because snowboarding isn't for the elite. It shouldn't be. And it feels like more and more when our tickets are getting higher and higher and higher and your season's passes are going towards $2,000, right? I'm like,
Right.
this is insane. I came from working in a snowboard shop, fixing boards, fixing bindings, keeping kids on the hill, working with my community, repairing bases and fixing edges and just I love that. I love the tinkering. And this is like now and just another stage in my career of giving back again, connecting with community and raising awareness. And we can get some gas cards with this. We can start making more accessibility and we can really blow this platform up to tell more stories, to connect more people together, right? And to really support one another when going through really hard times. And that can be with mental illness, that can be with health issues, that can just be with depression, right? Going through a bad relationship, going through hard times at work. It's like I've had them all. you know, Eyesight's just part of the equation for me. So that's really what this, fundraiser right now, the first one, like we have many more to go. But this first one is just really special to kick it all off. And I know we have the playoffs coming, just here in May and June. And so I just felt it was the right time to say, let's do this.
No, and I love it. I mean, like I said, I'm a 160W, 160. If you have any boards of that size, I
Excellent.
would love a board like that. I got a deep thinker, so I'm trying to get a board that's a little bit more yeah, like regular. I'm like 3 years in the season, so I'm trying to get my vernacular correct. But I'm trying to get one that isn't a directional board so I
Yep.
can hit my like switches a little bit better.
Excellent.
I need something that's also a little bit more flexible so I can try to like hit my stees also a little bit better, my butters. But I love my directional board because it has that channel mount just like that Celtics Burton. And yeah, that is a gorgeous board. If you guys have a chance, please check out that board. For $25 a ticket and $100 a ticket, $100 for 5 tickets, that is a no-brainer, right? Like if you guys are a snowboarder, if you've gone to winter sports, you already know, like Bridget has eloquently said, the price of things are going up. I can imagine how much I've spent just getting to a mountain, let alone what I'm spending at the mountain, and let alone the equipment I need for the mountain, right?
Right.
And that it's kind of a no-brainer. So $25 a ticket, $100 for 5 tickets. Make sure you guys check out the Give Butter link that will be in the Blind Betty podcast Instagram bio. I have some fun facts I want to figure out about you, if that is okay, while we still have the time.
Of course. Should we kick in the Jason Tatum jersey as well? That's also
oh yes, as well. There's
the kids
forgot
right
also
now.
there is an additional thing with this snowboard. Is it a package deal or is it two? What's going on here?
No, package deal. So yeah, frame the jersey, hang the board, and yeah, it's all good.
Or wear the jersey and ride the board. I don't know.
That can happen too.
But the board does also come with a signed Jason Tatum jersey. When was this signed? You know what year?
Yeah, well, the year the board was made, so the same time. So this was just, is that last year? 2 years ago.
2 years. So when they won the championship around, is that when they won the championship?
Yeah.
Around that time.
Won the championship. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So hey, I'll just throw it in there because that you guys can raffle for a championship board and a signed championship tee from the leading scorer from that team. I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Make sure you guys get into that Give Butter because it's amazing. And like I said, the board is beautiful. As a Knicks fan, I have to even say that board is gorgeous. I didn't even know you can take hardwood floor and make it into a board. Now I'm looking to see what other things could be made into snowboards because that was great. And I'm looking forward to any other boards or any other sweepstakes that you're going to have because
keep watching because I'll show you what else can go into boards.
Hey, like I
Pretty
said,
amazing.
160W is
Yeah.
my
All
size.
right.
That is my binding size. I got the reflex binding, so I could just pop them
Oh,
on there and do the
perfect.
thing. Yeah.
Excellent.
So some fun facts I'd love to know
Okay.
about you. Thank you, Bridget, for coming and kicking with me. What has been your favorite Vermont mountain to ride on? And I know I don't want to ruffle anybody's feathers. I'm sorry,
Nah.
but
I'm homegrown Smugs
okay, I
lover.
heard a lot about
Yep.
Smugs. I heard about the Smug spot. Okay, okay.
Yep.
I'm a Boston baby because that's where I
Okay.
first learned to ride. I actually
Yep.
volunteer with Chill, so that's where I
Okay,
got learned to
great.
ride. And then as I got tired of being on the mid mountain, I went up to the peak, and now I'm doing my thing. So, but Boston's
Yeah,
where I've been riding.
I learned how to ride as well. I went to school in Waterbury. We had the after
Oh,
school
nice.
program, and I got sick and tired of trying to remember what size skis I was on. My uncle happened to work for Burton way back in the day, and I was like, I think I'm going to try that. And then my grandmother got me my first snowboard, and
Aw.
it was, there's a
Right.
lot of history there for sure. But Bolton was where I first learned how after school, and but Smugs is where my first snowboard shop was. I rode for the club when it first started, and I've raised my daughter up there, and so it's just it's the community, the lines, it's something where like it's so in the back of my head, like that's that muscle memory we were talking about too. It's like I know these trails, so I feel comfortable and safe on them.
I think Smug still has the season still going on. I was thinking about maybe heading up there this weekend. Actually, I've been only
Yeah,
doing Bolton, and Bolton's done. So I'm like, all right, great. Now I can probably check out some cheaper rates over
yeah,
at
yeah.
Smugs or maybe at J Peak. I don't know.
Yep, totally. They're both going. I think this is the last weekend for it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you ride goofy or regular?
Oh, I'm a regular girl, left foot forward. Yep.
Ah, okay, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I did
I can
ride
get I,
regular for the entire season, but I kept spinning. Like kept hitting spinnies, and I didn't know
oh yeah.
why. And so I just stayed goofy. And I'm like, okay, this is right for me.
That's great. Yeah. No, I was one of those like left foot forward. And when I started, I'd always like hang out in the back. I was like back leg surfing for a while until I like
Right, right,
really
right.
figured because I taught myself really. And then once I joined the club, they were just like, you, you gotta move your foot. You gotta move your weight to the front. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
cool. And then next thing you know, it was like, oh, I got this, and then it was border cross and big air, and it was full send after that. So
And a
what?
quick comb through your Facebook shows that you're heavy into protein heavy foods. What would you say is the best protein snack that you enjoy?
Oh, my
Is it
best
the cream cheese
protein.
bagels?
The cottage cheese bagels,
The
yeah.
cottage cheese bagels?
Cottage cheese. Oh gosh. Yeah, if you come here to my house, you got like protein shakes, cottage cheese, chicken, lots of chicken, salmon, Greek yogurt, but definitely I love making I get sugar-free jello because I do like sweets, like but I
Mm-hmm.
try to keep that out of my diet. And so I'll take the sugar-free jello and I'll put it with an immersion blender with my cottage cheese. And
The cottage cheese.
it makes pudding, high protein pudding.
Oh,
And,
nice.
and so when I'm looking for like something like chocolate at the end of the night, I don't feel so guilty if I'm having my cottage cheese
Nice.
protein pudding. And my daughter's gotten really into it because I make her. She loves pistachio, and so I'll do pistachio pudding for her, and she's like all
Wonderful.
about it. And she loves the protein. She loves protein bagels, which is a cottage cheese cloud bread, and it's so easy to make with egg whites and put some everything bagel seasoning on the top. Can't go wrong.
Let me get that recipe. Last thing, now that you've been in this sphere and been a champion, right? Are there any disabled athletes? I know the Paralympics, Winter Paralympics just happened. Are there any
Yeah.
athletes, disabled athletes that who should be on our radar?
Oh gosh. I mean, I haven't followed them to the T to give you stats and stuff on like big names out there, but I do what I tend to follow is those who are out there making waves. I honestly, there's this guy Anthony who's out just being so inspirational, full blind,
Oh wow.
he's skateboarder, and it
Whoa.
just Yeah, his tricks are just
I've
absolutely
watched enough
amazing.
Scar to know you. Even people with vision.
I mean, I kick around a skate. I'm not like kick flipping and stuff. Like I like to cruise around on my longboards.
Right.
I mean, he's out there doing flights of stairs and stuff. I'm
Oh
like,
wow.
I'm so like mind blown to watch these guys skate fully blind. It's remarkable, and he's just really inspirational. Like, okay, you can do hard things, like that's really rad. And he's got his cane out too. He knows exactly how far he's got to push and where he's got to,
But
kick and
that's a
pop
very
off.
different picture of the person with the cane, and everyone is doing the Red Sea, and they don't want to touch him. It's like,
Right.
no, I can use this cane and also hit a kickflip over a 3 flight stair. Like,
Yeah. He's finding his rails to grind a skateboard on. I'm
right.
just like, are you kidding? That's so rad, it's so cool. So
That's awesome. That's
I
awesome.
think
Well,
the blind skateboarders, like I said, Anthony is his name. I have to get his handle, but oh my gosh, I'm obsessed. I watch all of his content because I'm like, you're killing it, dude. Like,
I mean, I
so,
hope anyone that's watching this, I hope that also widens your scope, right? Of seeing and hearing maybe a lot of the stories that are unsung, right? And
yeah,
understand that a disability doesn't mean that you are down and out, right? And
100%.
I love, like I said, I love the work that you're doing, Bridget. I love how you turn pain into power and turn that also back into people.
Yeah,
And a lot of the work that you're doing. Thank you once again. Make sure you guys are going to that Give Butter. Go to the Blind Betty Instagram so you can go and get that board. Go and
yeah,
get
go
that
get
board.
it.
Someone has to get it because it's
Yep,
absolutely gorgeous with a signed Jason Tatum jersey. $25 per ticket, $100 for 5. It goes to a great cause in providing accessibility to our disabled athletes, as well as making the sport right out here in Vermont that we all love. Winter sports is kind
yeah,
of the bread and butter of our state. Why not have more people on the mountain, right? So,
absolutely.
Bridget
Yeah,
Kent, thank you so much for coming and kicking with me. Make sure you guys follow the
yeah,
Blind Betty podcast at blind_Betty_podcast. You can find this interview at Kickin with Kachi on Instagram, on YouTube, as well as the DC Voices page. I'm your host, Kachi. Follow me on Instagram at onye.777. Bridget, once again, thank you for coming to Kickin with me, and kudos to you, and
absolutely.
good luck on all the work that you got to do.
Thank you so much. This has been
Of
wonderful.
course.